Hi everyone, it's Stella Grizont, and today I'm sharing with you a strategy on how you can stay resilient while working remotely. And I specifically want to tackle your experience of uncertainty. So often when we feel uncertain, we tag uncertainty in our brain as a threat, right? So when we don't know what's going to happen, we're not feeling so sure about our next paycheck, we have no idea when schools are going to reopen, we don't know if going to that supermarket compromised our well-being, we automatically tend to tag the unknown as a bad thing. And that's an instinct that we inherited from our caveman, cavewomen ancestors who, if they were sitting in the middle of the wilderness all by themselves and they heard a little rustling in the back of the bushes, they had some choices. They could assume, oh, I'm sure it's just a little bit of a little bird or squirrel, or they would assume the worst and get out of there. And so those who assumed the worst when it came to uncertainty ended up surviving. And those who thought it was just like a little bird probably got eaten. And so we have inherited this disposition of thinking where when anything is uncertain, we tag it as bad, or our attention tends to stick to anything that is negative or wrong or threatening. And that's called our negativity bias. So we have a negativity bias, and that is how we tend to lead our relationship with uncertainty. But I want to make you aware of another instinct you have, which actually welcomes uncertainty, which actually leans into it. And that's your desire for novelty. So when you were able to go out to restaurants or travel to new places, remember that feeling where you actually were excited to experience something you've never experienced before, right? So, or to meet a person you've never met before, or to read a book you've never read, or to see a movie you've never seen. We also love the unknown. We lean into it. It brings us alive. It stretches us. It helps us know more of who we are. And so on one side, on one end of the continuum of uncertainty, we think it's bad. And that's when we're really leading from our negativity bias. And then on the other end of the continuum, uncertainty actually is maybe full of possibilities and even a little exciting. And that mindset, that's what I call our playful mindset, So as adults, as humans, we actually have the capacity to play, even though you may not feel like it right now. But unlike other species, we continue to play into adulthood. And the reason we continue to play into adulthood is because play is critical for our ability to navigate the ever-changing world that we live in. By being playful, we connect the dots, we are able to be nimble, we are able to be creative, and we're able to connect with one another. And what that does is play creates conditions for our brain to create new neural pathways. So have you ever heard of the term neuroplasticity? That's about our brain's ability to create new neural pathways, to shut some down, to edit some. So our brain is always changing. So whoever said people don't change, that's actually not true. Our brain is constantly changing. And so being playful actually helps us. So I'm not saying you need to go dig into some Legos, although you can. What I've discovered in my research is that play is not about the activity, but it's about your mindset. And so during this really heavy time that we're in right now, with a tremendous amount of uncertainty and quite a bit of darkness, I want to actually invite you to leaning into your play instincts as much as you are probably already coming from your negativity bias. So how might you be playful in a way that isn't Pollyanna-ish, in a way that isn't ignoring the very serious circumstances that we're living in. Well, one way you can be playful is just by how you choose to think. So what I want to offer you right now are some ways to reframe situations so that you might inject some lightness into them. So for example, if you find yourself saying, oh, I have to wash the dishes for the third time today, right? So whenever you find yourself feeling heaviness and obligation, I have to homeschool my children, I have to take the dog out again, or I have to be on another Zoom call, right? When you feel that sense of deep obligation, I have to, consider switching it to I get to. And I'm sure you've heard this one before, switching the I have to I get to. But I encourage you to actually do it if you're not already. So maybe saying to yourself, wow, I get to go on another Zoom call. I actually have a job. Or I get to homeschool my children. I get to spend more time with them than I've probably spent with them in quite a bit of time, right? So how can you switch that sense of obligation to a sense of opportunity, right? I have to I get to. Another favorite one of mine is when you are feeling a sense of dread, like you wake up and you just don't want to get out of bed. You feel this day is going to suck, right? So this day is going to suck. I don't want to get out of bed. So when you feel that sense of dread, what I invite you to do is to reframe it into a place of curiosity. So instead of saying, this is going to suck, you could say to yourself, I wonder how I'll be surprised. I wonder how I'll be surprised. Now, I will tell you, I use this all the time, and I sometimes am just, I don't know what is it, gritting my teeth, baring my teeth. I don't know what the expression is, but I'm saying it with a lot of resistance. I wonder how this day is going to surprise me. I'm saying it with sarcasm because I'm in such a grumpy mood. But by just saying it, what I'm doing is allowing just a crack of light. Like you can be 99% grumpster, but if you just let 1% of light, 1% of willingness to see it differently, that is all you need to potentially transform your circumstances or your experience of those circumstances. So just by saying, I wonder how I'll be surprised, even if you feel like you're faking it, is actually going to give you enough flexibility in your thinking to maybe start to see things differently. And then finally, a third one, when you are complaining, like you're just saying, oh my God, this thing is never going to be over. This is a horrible situation, right? When you find yourself complaining, what I invite you to do is to start with some gratitude. So instead of saying, oh, another Groundhog Day, right? You could say, or when someone's asking you how you're doing and you just want to launch into like a deep sigh and start listing all the things that are wrong, which by the way is how I had been operating for a while. What I would say is, and my friend Christine gave me this one, is to say, fortunately. So if someone asks you how you're doing and you find yourself getting ready to launch into a series of complaints, just start with fortunately, and then what do you have to be grateful for? And then you can go into all the stuff that sucks. So I will say, I just saw my neighbor the other day. I was gardening or trying to garden. I'm just starting to garden. All I did was like plant 5 flowers and I felt very, very proud of myself. But I saw my neighbor and he asked how I was doing. And I said, well, fortunately, we have food and we're healthy. And what that does is it changes the trajectory of the conversation. And it kind of forces you to take a breath and also the person you're speaking with to take a breath and to have some perspective on what is good, right? So we have to keep in mind what is good. And so that reframing is just an example of how you can nudge yourself from the sensation of feeling like completely scared by the uncertainty to actually maybe inviting in some possibility for seeing things a little bit differently and being open for some beauty to come into your life as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned. Every week on Monday, I will be doing another segment of what I'm calling Remote and Resilient. For those of you who are working remotely and want to stay resilient through this time, I'm going to be here and I'll be sending you something every Monday so that you can stay sane and resilient for the week ahead. Thanks so much for watching, and if you would like to share this with a friend or a colleague, please go ahead, share it with them. You can also send them to remoteandresilient.com. And I just hope that you and your family and your friends and your colleagues and all of us stay healthy and stay well. Until next week, bye.